All right, folks, welcome back. Episode 2, the Fantasy Football Factory. Thank you all for listening. It's been a great reaction. I'm here with Connor, the commish, Roan. How are you guys doing today?
Dude, I'm really good. I'm really happy to be here. I'm just eager to get things started. It's so much that you can just chew the fat before getting to that good-ass meat. And I'm ready to just stuff a bunch of meat in my mouth. You know, Big Tennessee?
I do know about that. I'm very excited to be here as well. It's finally football season. We're ready to go.
Dude, you are. Can I mention that you're wearing your commissioner's outfit, which you just bought today?
I'm in my commissioner's attire, suit, my jacket and tie. I feel very fancy.
Is that the first suit you've ever worn?
The first one that's fit in a couple years, yeah.
It's first since the first communion is kind of what it looks like. But you look holy. You look pious.
Why are you dressed up so nicely today?
Well, today we are filming our owners meeting with all of our owners in the fantasy league, and we're going to hash out. Yeah, we don't say the O word anymore. So we're going to hash out all the issues we have with our league, make sure we get the punishment and buy-in, different things like that settled out.
What are some of the punishments that people are going to be voting? So we're going to be doing the first governor's meeting, all 12 teams. We talked about it last show, who was in the league. There's a blog post if you want to go read up on that. First governor's meeting, we're going to be figuring out the buy-in. Everyone's going to, make their case of what they think the buy-in should be. This is a democracy.
Oh,
so
big
everything
time.
is going to be voted and come to a decision by the league itself.
Everybody has a voice.
Yes.
Everybody has a voice. Some are going to be louder than others. Some are going to be yelling. Some are going to be calling for the head of the commissioner. And I've even talked to some people in the office who say they're going to take relish in trying to light you the fuck up,
well,
Connor.
We're not going to allow that to happen. But Hank, you asked about the punishments. We have the list here that we're going to vote on today. The first, and what I find the best, is riding a Greyhound bus here in New York City to Los Angeles and back. No stopping. You get off in Los Angeles, you turn around, you come back. It takes about 5.5 days.
That's terrible. That's a really bad punishment.
Pure hell. Secondly, we have a Barstool body issue.
I don't think we're going to vote for that. I'm just going to say right now.
You think no one's going to vote for that?
I don't think it's going to make the final cut.
Dude, but hear me out, though. No one is voting for these as if they would have to do them. You don't think you're going to lose. You don't come into a league like this thinking that you're going to lose. So I'm voting for something that I think is going to be the worst for someone else, not something where I'm hedging the bet for myself.
Well, and that's where we're going to see how these people vote. If they vote in their own self-interest or against everyone else. Secondly, we have a Barstool body issue photo shoot. You've seen a certain company do this. We're not going to mention their name. They do a body issue with athletes.
Fox Sports 1.
Yeah. See them in the nude. Maybe a Barstool personality does that.
So just one person would be getting it's basically a nude photo shoot.
They should recreate the entire ESPN issue this year.
Okay.
All the athletes.
So all the poses,
yes.
all of them naked. That's terrible.
Now another one that may rival the Greyhound in some people's eyes. We have a homeless camp of sorts in the bottom of our office. Spending 48 hours with the homeless.
Not in the bottom. They live outside of our office. It's not like the low employees of our office are homeless.
Outside the front door, between here and the drugstore. The last two, one is a Brazilian wax, kind of simplistic, but it's on the list.
Painful.
And now here's an interesting one that Arya and I came across talking the other day. Choosing an Instagram personality, preferably a female, and mimicking every post they do for however.
I like that one. Hey, guys.
That's a strong one. The hey guys.
Channel.
Yeah, that's
especially because it's going to be probably a dude that loses this league, and they don't want to do that.
And especially if you don't say why you're doing it, and people just assume that this is the new person that you've become. Not only do you play fantasy football, but you post on Instagram like an absolute asshole. So that would be tough. That and actually getting hair pulled from your asshole.
So we will be filming all of this meeting. It's going to be coming out with this podcast on Thursday. So as you're listening to this, you're probably going to want to go and watch that video and then come back and listen to the rest of this podcast. Besides that, we're going to be figuring out Za is going to be choosing between Team Portnoy and Barstool Breakfast.
Juicy.
We're going to figure out which team Nate is going to be on because we kind of miscalculated how many people are in the league. That might be my fault, might be Connor's. I'm going to put the blame on Connor.
Yeah, definitely.
We're also going to figure out what the buy-in's going to be. And whatever other punishments, anything anyone has to come, it's all going to come together. The video will be out today, so go watch that video. As for the rest of this episode, we're just doing this live. If you're watching the video, go on YouTube. We just started Barstool Gambling Channel. Thank you for watching. Subscribe, like, comment. We're going to be going up against Barstool Sports Advisors, Barstool College Football Show, so we got some stiff competition on the channel. We want to do well.
That's fine. We're here for it.
Right. So we're going to be interviewing someone. He calls himself the Bucs scouting expert. Steven? Would you say? Here, Connor. Let's switch seats.
All right.
As we switch seats, I'm going to do a quick ad read.
Fantastic. Yeah, nail this one.
DHM Detox. DHM Detox is your go-to drinking buddy for no hangover. It's basically a vitamin for people who drink. Most people don't know what really... Most people... See, they wrote this wrong.
It's all right. Well,
Most people don't know that hangovers are caused by toxic byproduct of alcohol that builds up in your system while you're drinking. It's called acetaldehyde. DHM Detox helps break down that poison while you're drinking to protect your liver. Double up and take another packet if you're having a big night. It has a blend of natural ingredients that are optimized to fight off the next day's shitty feeling you have after drinking. Fantasy football is Sunday morning. That is when championships are won, decisions are made. You need to be right on Sunday morning. You can't be going out Saturday and then be hungover, foggy.
Half brain in it. No, you need to have your brain at 100%.
You need to have it, and you need to get DHM Detox. Ask yourself, what is your next day worth? For just a couple dollars, you can wake up feeling normal after drinking. DHM has risk-free purchases, so if you don't feel better after taking the product, they'll give you your money back. This is a no-brainer. We've got a 20% offer for you if you order DHM Detox. Just head over to dhmdetox.com. Use promo code FANTASY20 at checkout. That's dhmdetox.com, FANTASY20 at checkout. Now, as for our guest of today's program, this is first of all, you're an ad guy, so let's start there. How is that ad read?
Sure. Good. I mean, you obviously slipped up a time or two, but for the most part,
Well, I don't know if you proofread these, but it says most people don't know what really know. So I'm going to take partial blame for there, and
That's fair.
I don't know if that's
Fair.
you, but I'm going to give you a little bit of blame too.
Sorry. Yeah.
But we also even know by Steven saying that he's going to be a fair critic, and he's going to shoot us straight today. He's not going to give us any kind of fluff, even about his precious Bucs. He's going to be ranking the Bucs where they should be throughout the league and not overvaluing anybody.
Sure. Yeah.
Yes, Steven. So Steven Cheah, he is in studio.
How you doing?
Steven, what would you say your title is?
My official title that is on my W-2s is Senior Director of Ad Operations at Barstool Sports.
Senior.
Senior, yeah.
That's pretty bad.
I've also spoken the title into existence, Senior NFL Draft Analyst at Barstool Sports.
That's really nice. And are there any juniors or anybody else who
Yeah,
even...
actually, Coley is my junior.
Is he really?
Yeah.
Coley Mick, who's also in the league?
Yeah.
Wow, unbelievable. I didn't even realize you had a coaching tree already.
Yeah.
So good for you. And also you boast 20 years of fantasy experience. Is that correct?
Yep. This will be my 20th year doing fantasy football.
Now, you are also the first guest to pitch an appearance on the show. I was
Yes.
honored to receive this email. I'm just going to
Thank
read
you.
part of it from Steven Cheah. Hey, guys, listen to your podcast. Really enjoyed it. Also, most fire logo. Shout out Triggs. It is a fire logo. This is where it gets good. It's not widely known, but I'm actually the creator of the now super popular zero running back strategy, in which you don't take any running backs with your first few picks and draft strictly wide receivers. I have screenshots proving this. Now, the way you worded that made it seem like you're this like vigilante Batman type
Yep.
person who created this strategy not for your own credit but just to get it out into the world.
Right? It's a preposterous claim to make. And it almost seems like one where there's no way to prove this. So I'm dying to see what these screenshots are that say that you created a strategy of drafting that the zero running back strategy.
Yep.
So, give us all the information. Lay it out because it's a wild thing to claim. We're going to let you set the
Sure.
record straight.
Sure. So for
I love how you say sure.
Sure. So for people that are not familiar, the zero running back strategy is probably the most popular draft strategy in year-long fantasy leagues right now. What it is you draft wide receivers with your first 3 picks.
Sure.
The reason for that is common fantasy lineups are 2 running backs, 2 receivers, and a flex. So you load up most draft, or I should say most, but a very popular thing now is PPR, which is points per reception. So you get 1 point for every catch that a player makes. It makes sense in PPR leagues especially to load up on talented wide receivers.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, back when I started playing fantasy football, you would always draft running backs to start because the Marshall Falks, the Edgerrin Jameses, the Priest Holmes, Sean Alexander, Lady
Bell cows.
These guys, bell cows, exactly. These guys would get 20 plus carries a game. Priest Holmes LT, they'd be in the 20 plus touchdown. Sean Alexander, 20 plus touchdown a year. These are the guys that you wanted with a top 3 pick every time. There is when I started playing fantasy football in the early 2000s, the draft guy that a lot of people read was Michael Fabiano, who was with NFL.com at the time. He crafted something called the Falk strategy, which was a very popular strategy and an innovative strategy at the time. Again, going back to the standard league, 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 receivers, and a flex. You would draft 3 running backs with your first 3 picks. The logic being that you're going to have primo picks. There wasn't really a timeshare backfield that wasn't really invented at the time or very popular at the time. But the logic was one of your guys is going to get hurt. So when that guy gets hurt, then you have another guy ready to go.
A little insurance.
A little insurance, exactly. But as timeshare, backfield by committee, running back by committee, when those started to get popular, the fantasy world was a little bit in flux just because, if you're drafting so many RBs early and they're only getting, 10 to 15 carries a game, is that really where you want to have your value?
So how did you decide to zag?
Sure. So I'm not going to say it happened on purpose, but a screenshot that I don't
like
have.
A nuclear bomb.
a screenshot that I don't have is from 2009, which is when I actually started it. I was in a league that was 3 receivers, and with my first 3 picks, I had the 12th pick. I believe it was Andre Johnson, Calvin Johnson, and Marcus Colston. So 3 receivers, and everyone was like, whoa, what the fuck? Like, I was getting destroyed in the draft chat, just being like, you are fucked. Like, you don't have any running backs. I'm like, I don't care. I got 3 good-ass receivers. It worked really well for me that year. I changed over leagues, and that's what I sent you. So I have a screenshot from 2011 and 2012, 2 separate leagues where I employed this strategy. So I've been a fantasy magazine pundit. I have a fantasy magazine right here.
You brought it with you.
Yeah, this is what I've been kind of utilizing over the years. I used to be a 2 to 3 magazine guy.
How many pages of this are you actually reading?
Almost all of it.
Dude, but can we almost go back to some of the logistics of it? Just because you did this early on doesn't mean that you're a creator of a style of thinking, though, because you would have to have proof that other people are doing it in your wake. You can't take ownership for this.
Exactly. So, sorry, let me cut you off just because I was very excited. I've been looking up for years because I know that I have created this, and once it became popular and it had a name,
copywriting it or like
no. So I never created the name Zero RB. But I was looking at a site this morning, and it said that one guy, Sean Cieli, in 2013, who won the 2013 NFFC Primetime Champion, who's like an analytics guy, invented it in 2013. I have proof of 2. I will tell you that there are 3 times that I'd use that before 2013 with success. So in my eyes,
it's like an Alexander Graham Bell situation.
Sure, exactly.
Where there's like someone else crafted this beforehand.
Right.
But it's not like you were the pioneer where everybody was kind of learning behind you, but you were just independently like coming up with wires that would let you call to a different part of the country.
Yeah. So a lot of what in my experience of what fantasy is and what allows you to be successful is to look not only at like who's available in what positions, but know your league. I think the most important things to do in fantasy, number 1, is look at your scoring system because that changes everything. You can have a point per reception. You can have half a point per reception. I have a league that used to be 2 quarterbacks. Now it's 1 quarterback and 1 flex that can be a quarterback.
Is that the commissioner just being shady, or is he just trying to...
No, this is all like very well agreed upon beforehand.
And that's the kind of stuff that we're going to kind of try to agree upon today because there are little minute details and changes about scoring. For example, I've seen leagues where they give a point or a percentage of a point for a carry. So then you're just rewarded with a 0.2 points or something just for getting a single carry.
Sure.
Or whether we want to have 6-point touchdowns or 4-point touchdowns.
That's huge for quarterbacks. Yeah.
What would you suggest is the best for a league like the Barstool Content League that we are going to be meeting about today? Steven Cheah.
So
20 years of fantasy football recommendation.
Yeah,
2 decades.
My personal favorite is to
not your personal favorite. What would you recommend for us? The best. What would be the most effective scoring strategy?
Especially since you guys are going to have like some type of punishment, whether it's a Greyhound bus or not, some type of punishment that nobody wants. You don't want the person that loses the league to have lost by a fluke. So,
agreed.
The best thing that
it would be interesting from a fairness perspective, we don't want that.
Sure.
But from a pure entertainment, it would be amazing to see someone's heart ripped out.
Sure. So if you want to, and you can go 2 ways off this. If you want to prevent a fluke, the best thing is to do is have more players. So that could be two running backs, 3 receivers, a flex, to kind of get more players who people are going to have to reach more into the waiver wire and depth charts to kind of get their players. If you want to have something like a fluke and in a little bit of a simpler league, then you could do the standard 2 running backs, 2 receivers, and a flex, just so people have a little bit more surface area. They don't have to go too far into like the backup running back depth chart and waiver wires.
Okay.
Which do you think would be better for this league? Do you think that we want people to be really racking their brain for football knowledge, or do you think that we want it to be a comedy of errors, free for all, where everybody's just stumbling all over each other for the players who are sitting out there?
How many teams are in the league? Is it 14?
12.
Okay, so that's standard. Yeah, if we want to keep it like pretty surface level, I would say two running backs, 2 receivers, and you don't even need a flex, and that just kind of simplifies everything. So 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 receivers, a tight end, a kicker, and a defense.
Well, we're going to let the governors decide.
And again, if you're listening now, you can watch the video and see how this all turns out, because we're recording this right before the meeting. The reason that after you sent that email that I thought you would be a good guest is because it is a lot of people, a lot of listeners are going to be doing their drafts this week or the following week, which I think is smart given like the Andrew Luck shit. Like, there's no, as much as people get excited and want to do their drafts early,
Gotta wait till week 3.
There's no point in doing it because you just never know what's going to happen, even up till the last preseason game or something like the Andrew Luck situation happens. If you drafted him last week, like your season is already fucked and there's nothing you can do about it.
Shout out O.J. Simpson.
Yep.
But there's a lot of people who really think that they're that they become like territorial or covetous of the knowledge they have, and they want to draft as soon as they have the knowledge, and they don't want everybody else to get the knowledge they have. And the closer you get to the season, the more knowledge everybody gets. A guy like Darwin Thompson, who we're going crazy over last week for the Chiefs, is now part of the entire he's part of the conversation for fantasy football. So it's harder to sneak these guys if you wait longer, but at the same time you're going to have a way clearer picture of what's going to happen with your holdouts, your rookies, your depth charts.
Yeah, well, week 3 of the preseason is when starters typically play a half, and that's when you see Lamar Miller towards ACL. Cam Newton got hurt, I think, in week 2, but you're going to see a lot more starters potentially go down, which will affect your season. I remember a few years ago, Jordy Nelson tore his ACL in the game. We had a draft 15 minutes after the news came out. Somebody picked him in the 2nd round. It's just like unfortunate.
What a fool!
Yeah, so
embarrassing.
Yeah, so you typically should have your draft after week 3 is fully complete.
But also, I feel like there's even teams who aren't doing that anymore. They're not even playing their starters at all during the preseason, and it's hard to gauge who's going to play, who's going to get minutes. It makes it a little bit more difficult to see what the general game plan of some of these teams are.
Yep.
So I want to quickly go through some draft strategies. I just want to get your thoughts as an expert on how you think these draft strategies are, so that our listeners, if they go with this strategy, you might be able to give some insight or maybe talk them off the ledge or tell them that their decision is right. The first one, this one I always struggle with, waiting on quarterbacks. Although it used to be, Tom Brady would be there, and I'd be like, fuck, I want Tom Brady on my team. He's obviously not as much of a he's not the number 1 quarterback anymore, so it's easier to lay off. But waiting on quarterbacks, buy or sell?
I think I don't want to skirt around the answer, but it depends on the scoring system. I think if you have 6-point touchdowns for quarterbacks, that can be extremely valuable. If you have a guy like Pat Mahomes who's going to throw 50 touchdowns and they're worth 6 each, that's very valuable. Most leagues have 4-point passing touchdowns and 6-point rushing touchdowns, so that could elevate rushing quarterbacks like a Cam Newton or Lamar Jackson. Those types of guys who could get rushing touchdowns higher. If you're looking at a 6-point passing touchdown, I actually do like going for a quarterback earlier. Round 5 and 6 is typically when quarterbacks go in 1 quarterback leagues. I like going for those guys early because there's nothing like having a guy who can put up 4 touchdowns regularly and you're looking at 24 points just from the passes.
But how many of these guys are draftable that high, though? I feel like even if there
Less
is
than
a
a handful.
run,
Less
there's
than a
only a
handful.
couple guys that you really want to take at the top of your draft.
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking at 6-point touchdowns, guys like Aaron Rodgers, Pat Mahomes, guys that are going to be in the 40-plus, high 30 or 35-plus touchdown area are going to be kind of the key guys that you want.
Now, how much value do you put into like young running backs? Because obviously the Ezekiel Elliott's, the Melvin Gordons, they've been putting up the numbers the past few years, but as you've seen, there's obviously all this offseason baggage and there's more tape on them and stuff. How much do you take the star running backs, or do you look for those young running backs that don't have as much experience, but those are the guys that might break out, and then you have a value pick?
I think it kind of depends on where you like what pick you lie in. Like if you're looking, I have a draft coming up on Monday, and I have the 5th pick, so I'm really looking at one of the top running backs, if not a receiver. If I'm not in the top echelon, like a tier 1, typically you break up fantasy players with tiers. If you're not getting one of those tier 1 guys, you might want to look at going with a 0 RB strategy, or going with a receiver, and waiting on and kind of taking a lot of scratch-off tickets basically on these young guys like a David Montgomery from Chicago, and a lot of these younger players, so that if you can collect maybe 4 of them, maybe you get 2 serviceable starters out of them in later rounds.
Are there any other young running backs that you have in this book of research that you've seen that you're high on?
I think one name to watch is Darrell Henderson from the Rams. It's very difficult to kind of predict injury. Todd Gurley towards the end of last year, or in the beginning of last year and the year before that, was the unquestioned number 1 running back. Towards the end of last year, he really faded. They picked up C.J. Anderson off the street, and he led them in rushing in the playoffs. There were reports coming out about Todd Gurley having arthritic knee. That really worries me, and they got rid of C.J. Anderson too. So now it's like, okay, where are they kind of going with their plan at running back? I know that they did bring in some other players, but Darrell Henderson has impressed in the preseason.
Do you kind of
so
feel
it's
like
worth taking a flyer on late?
Or I even feel like Henderson seems to be going earlier because people are so spooked by Todd Gurley right now. And I almost feel like the way that people are so low on Todd Gurley stock as opposed to how well he performed, he did fall off towards the end of the year, but it wasn't this precipitous drop-off where he was like a terrible player. I feel like he might even present good value towards the top of your draft because so many people are undervaluing him. If you're looking at going against the current of what everybody's thinking, like this is still a guy who could be a top 5 rusher in the NFL. Like there's some other guys that like are kind of getting forgotten about that could work their way into that top 5 rusher conversation. Another one, I mean, I'd love to hear your thoughts on the Ravens' new running back who they picked up from the Saints.
Mark Ingram.
I would love to hear what you think about him.
He's an interesting one. He's going to be playing a lot out of the pistol formation, and that's kind of his strength. No fullback, just playing with the quarterback. They drafted I forgot the name of the Justice Hill from Oklahoma State. Similar style running back. I don't love older running backs that go to new teams. The Ravens are really set up for success. They had guys like Alex Collins and Gus the Bus. Gus Edwards kind of succeed there. But from a fantasy perspective, if you're looking for a week in, week out starter, that's not the kind of guy I'm looking at. Or also if you, not only that, but if you're a new guy that goes to an older running back that goes to a new team, and they also spend a draft pick on someone else, just like with the Eagles, they just brought in Jordan Howard, but then they draft Miles Sanders in the second round, so you're wondering, okay, where does that really fit at? And I don't really love those.
You talk about his backup. How much mind do you pay to drafting one of your star players' backups? In case of the injury, then you have that next guy up.
Sure. I think it depends on your confidence level with the player. Like, for example, if you're going to draft Todd Gurley, then I would for sure get his backup. If you're drafting Le'Veon Bell, who just sat out a year, still a young running back, not as worried. If you have Christian McCaffrey, I'm not really as worried, or Saquon Barkley, I'm not really as worried about their backups. It would be a nice handcuff to have later. That's what that term is called. But I wouldn't need it because
there's a backup name that I want to throw at you.
Sure.
From Minnesota.
Okay.
Alexander Madison.
Right, he's been making waves this preseason.
He's making some waves this preseason.
And by waves, what is waves? Just you just see news about him? Is there like a fantasy chat? You see people talking about him. How would you describe waves for people that might not understand?
I would say just kind of making headlines on Twitter and like fantasy people just being like, oh, have you seen like Alexander Madison, and just like kind of highlights posted by NFL and other outlets that are showing like.
But it seems like their offense is going to be better than their offense was last year.
Yep.
Even though Dalvin Cook is your obvious RB1 over there, it seems like whatever Kevin Stefanski's doing, even in the preseason, their third string quarterback's putting up numbers.
Yep.
They have a nice little wide receiver tandem. They're in a position to be a more potent offense than they were a year before.
Yep. Their problem last year was offensive line. They addressed that early in the first round with Garrett Bradbury from that plays center from NC State, I believe. that's a guy, Alexander Madison, that I would really look at just because the guy he's backing up is a brittle guy. Dalvin Cook had injuries in college, has been banged up in the pros. Those are handcuff situations that you should really look to take advantage of and definitely buy low guys. So if you do go receiver heavy in the beginning of the draft, those you want to take a lot of little flyers, a lot of scratch offs on guys like that could get action.
Or in Dallas, I mean, Dallas that's a prime situation where you're going to want to take the backup if you wind up with Zeke, right?
Sure, yeah, that's just really history repeating itself. I mean, last year, same exact situation with Le'Veon Bell and his contract. James Conner, a little unknown for the most part, a third-round pick out of Pitt, goes very late drafted, thinking he's only going to play for about 2 weeks, and ends up playing the whole season and finishes in the top 10 at running backs.
Dude, we should let you talk a little bit about the Bucs, though. We should let you talk about.
I have one last draft strategy question. Then we'll give you a Bucs minute. It's a new segment.
That's really nice. I think that's super generous of us to be like
Steven Cheah Bucs.
No other team gets this type of minute. I don't think of the entire NFL. We haven't, in my memory, we haven't given any other team a full minute. So pretty generous of us.
Kind.
Tight ends drafting. I feel like people are
Great
all
question.
over the board with this. Do you take them high? Do you not even worry about it because they're very injury prone? Where do you stand with tight ends?
All right, so when you have a year-long fantasy draft, if that's the league that you're in, the number one thing you're going to want to do is look at your scoring system and look at how the rosters are constructed.
A general rule of thumb is check your scoring
theme.
system.
Yep, you're going to need to know that. Number 2 rule, my personal rule.
And I'm going to be honest, I've never really even checked my scoring systems before. Like, I've just kind of assumed that they're
And then you find out a couple weeks in, like, what the fuck, I'm losing points for
there's-
fumbles.
There's a lot, yeah. I would never, ever take a tight end in the first 6 rounds of a draft.
Not even. I mean, Gronk's obviously not in, but like not even a Travis
Kelce,
Zach
Ertz.
Ertz.
No, and the reason
O.J.
being,
Howard.
the reason being is that the guys that are gonna put up huge numbers, like the guy that was that guy Gronk, really had the last few years was very tough injury wise. You had people taking him round 1 a few years ago. Him and Jimmy Graham a few years ago were round 1 tight ends. Travis Kelce's now right on the border.
He mocks in the first round. He mocks.
Someone will always do it. Don't let it be you. The reason I say this is because if you actually look at mock drafts online, you look at guys that take tight ends early, they really pull away from, it really detracts from the rest of their team. So they're going to have a bigger hole at wide receiver 2 or RB2. They're not going to be able to be quote unquote as cute in the draft with, rookie running backs and taking quarterbacks early. You're really, if you take a tight end early, you're almost forcing yourself to have a near perfect draft to have a real chance at succeeding. We look at guys that put up really good numbers, like last year, O.J. Howard was a guy, George Kittle was a guy who you can get later. Eric Ebron had 14 touchdowns. These are guys that are all going later and putting up similar numbers fantasy-wise to Travis Kelce or a Gronk or someone that's drafted a lot earlier.
That's a beautiful answer. All right, you can. I was going to ask you specifically about.
Let's do a Bucs fantasy minute. So only talk about the
talk
Bucs,
fantasy.
but
Yeah, I was going to ask about
value.
Godwin, but give us a rundown. Give us a quick rundown.
Sure. So Godwin is Chris Godwin, receiver for the Bucs, third-year receiver out of Penn State. The third year is typically when receivers have been prime breakout candidates throughout the course of history. Receivers, third year, their jump from their second to third year typically is very large. So if they're going to be huge, it's typically around that year. Chris Godwin is a prime candidate for that now. He's moving from Dirk Cutter's offense, where he was like a low-level number 3 guy, to Bruce Arians' offense, where he's playing the slot. He's playing the Larry Fitzgerald role. They're envisioning him not coming off the field at all. He's coming off a very good year, and he is certainly a candidate with Deshaun Jackson now back in Philly. Certainly a candidate to do very big things. Bruce Arians earlier said in the spring said he thinks Godwin could be a 100-catch guy, which is huge.
That's a lot of catches.
That would put him in wide receiver 1 status. I like Chris Godwin from a fantasy perspective. I think he's been one of the hottest names this spring, which is why I'm a little
overvaluing going on.
Yeah,
there.
I'm a little trepidatious with his valuing. I think it's gone up a little bit too high. And if you can get him kind of in that round 5, round 6, I think that's a really good spot for him.
How about Mike Evans?
I mean, Mike Evans is a bona fide wide receiver 1. He's probably the second or the last guy that's in that WR1 tier. He's a great guy to get. I think he's going to be really good in this offense.
But if Godwin's getting 100 catches, you have to think that that's going to eat into either O.J. Howard or Mike Evans' production, no?
Yeah. I'm skeptical of the 100 catches for Godwin. I think he can be more of like, if I'm projecting him, I think he can be like a 75, 80 catch guy for about 1,100 yards, 8, 9 touchdowns, that type of thing. I think that's really good production. If you look at wide receiver 2s throughout the course of history, typically they're not like, guys that you want to spend a lot of money on, but there can be good ones. Some of my favorites, TJ Houshmandzadeh, just Mr. Consistency. Juju Smith-Schuster last year was really good as a wide receiver 2. So he definitely has value. I would just be cautious about overspending. He's a high mid-round guy for me. Mike Evans for sure, I think is a maybe not a first-round receiver, but in that second to third round for sure, depending on how your league does rosters, he should be in there and be pretty solid. I think he's good for about 1,400 yards, maybe 7 to 9 touchdowns.
And we know their running backs are nothing to speak of, so we're not going to say anything about it.
I wouldn't say that. I mean, I think Jameis is actually
what
pretty
tier
good.
What tier are you putting Jameis in? I'm looking at some of these tiers.
4th or 5th?
I mean,
or 6th?
Certainly nowhere close to the first. Second, I think it depends on again your scoring system. If you get if passing touchdowns are equal to rushing touchdowns, I think that helps him because he's going to get a lot more passing than rushing touchdowns. I would put him like probably at the bottom of tier 3, top of tier 4 for quarterbacks. I think he's right around that like 12 to 15 area.
But he's got weapons. You have to be excited about having a couple weapons.
He's absolutely got weapons, and he does put up numbers.
Just a terrible offensive line.
I think one thing, if you're thinking about drafting Jameis Winston, is know how many points you get for turnovers. He has been a turnover machine. If interceptions are -2 or -1, that makes a huge difference if you're drafting a guy like that.
Stealing from Publix, though, he's absolutely first tier.
God damn, bro. We're gonna go deep into the past on that ass.
Yeah.
Just don't let him take an Uber home either, bro.
It's a bit problematic.
Yeah. The rest of the team, the running back. Sorry, I think actually they have some pretty good.
Right. Don't worry about the running back.
Don't worry. We know that they're not going to be that.
I think Peyton Barber is actually a really good value late in the draft. Ronald Jones was a second-round pick last year. Everyone expects him to do really big things. He certainly could and could be worth a late flyer. I'm not going to spend a mid-round pick on Ronald Jones. Peyton Barber is Mr. Consistency. He just signed a 1-year deal this year and actually bet on himself. He's actually I think he might be Gary V's first client.
But also huge.
Yep.
Also massive. That's massive.
So they offered him a longer deal, and he took a 1-year deal.
Bet on your fucking self.
Exactly. So he's not going to be breaking like 80, 90-yard runs. He's not like a 4-4 type running back, but he's Mr. Steady Eddie. Between the tackles, gets you 4 yards a carry. I would expect something around 1,000, 1,100 yards, maybe 8 to 10 touchdowns.
Dude,
I would say anyone listening, I would just take whatever Steven Cheah and like subtract it by like 20%.
For the Bucs, yeah.
I'm being pretty cautious.
The Bucs inflation.
I'm saying Chris Godwin, maybe pump the brakes on a little bit.
But still, 80 catches would be crazy. Even if you took off 20%, it would be like, okay, he had a damn good year.
Yeah, I mean that's not an enormous improvement from last year. I don't remember his exact numbers, but I think he had around 70 catches last year.
Steve, we also asked you to bring in every fantasy team that you were ever on.
Yes,
the names of 20 years.
I'm just gonna say, as like we said, this has been a live show the entire time. We were gonna do a fantasy mock draft with our team. Looking at the time, I don't think we're gonna have time for that. So I think we should just keep it rolling, and then we'll do a little bit of inside Barstool, and then we'll wrap this joint up.
Sure. All right. So I couldn't retrieve all the names because I used to play on like Sporting News and NFL.com, etc. This is what I could retrieve. So the earliest name that I do remember is Shock and Awe, and that was actually in reference to
fingering.
It was like us bombing like
Iraq after September 11th.
Yikes!
Yeah. They're not the best. I mean, my team had a lot of firepower on offense. So that was
Jesus Christ, bro! The innocent died that day.
Yeah. No, I mean, I was like 16 at the time.
A
name I went with for a really long time was Swedish fish pies. I don't know why I went with that.
Is that a thing?
So that sounds sexual. That sounds like a Swedish fish pie is like a move that you do when like someone's maybe
no. It was literally because I like Swedish fish, and fish pies is another word for poop. So
so it's poop. So it's sexual in that way.
I wouldn't say it's sexual at all.
So like when you have a lot of corn and you have corn poop, it's like Swedish fish.
Swedish fish poop. Do you think that Swedish fish could last through a digestive cycle?
Also, why like Sweden?
Yeah,
I don't know.
so they must have originated there, man.
Good
They
candy
must-
though.
Great candy, fantastic candy.
I
don't
got
like the mini ones.
Really? Why?
Just a huge taste difference.
Yeah, I guess you can't really rip them off either. Ripping them is like a big part of it.
well, the mini ones are all red.
Is there?
So are the big
all red.
ones.
Regular
No.
Swedish fish are all red.
No, the big ones are multicolor.
No.
What the hell are
No.
you talking about?
Yeah, you can go to 7-Eleven right now, get a regular size pack of Swedish fish, and there's separate
Steven Cheah,
colors.
you are out of your mind.
Damn,
100%.
I don't agree with that, Steven. I would love. This is something that we won't be able to solve now, but we'll probably be able
Next
to
week
go.
we will get to the bottom of this.
Love
Right.
that. I'm sorry. Keep ripping through. You have an index card, a 3x5, which
How
I
many championships, by the way? Please note when any of these are championship winners, because that obviously.
Oh, sure. So I play mainly in 3 leagues right now.
Now, if you have 3 teams in the same year, are you all Swedish fish pies for all of them?
No, always different. I mean, that would just make the app insanely confusing. I got me a T-boner.
hilarious, like T-bone.
You
I get
drafted
it.
him, obviously.
I don't know if I did. He was so.
You just got swept up in Tebow mania.
Oh yeah, I was a huge Tebow guy.
It's weird when you have someone's name in, like you pick your name before the draft and it's related to a player. Then it's almost like you have to draft that guy, and you might overdraft the guy just to kind of like because you're like Deshaun Watson's name in your
right,
shit.
Right.
We talked on the show about I talked about Darius Geis, and then in my draft with my friends from home, I got him. My team name is Geis being dudes.
That's pretty
Oh,
great.
nice,
That's
nice.
pretty great. But did you
But I
overdraft
reached
him?
for him, yeah.
Yeah,
sure.
that's tough.
The Bucs had a running back by the name of Craig Lumpkin.
Of course.
So 1 year, and this was a very long time ago, my name was Craig B. Lumpkin, like a
A Blumpkin. Dude, my African American studies professor in college was named Charles Lumpkins. Shout out Charles Lumpkins, bro. He gave me an A for doing no work, bro. It was incredible.
That's what they did at UNC too.
It was-
African American Studies.
That's fucked up, bro.
That's
Big
that's a
Tennessee,
fact.
bro.
That's what they did.
I got my eye on you, Big Tennessee.
No MRSA, right after the Bucs had their MRSA scare.
Nice. Like Mercy.
Yeah,
No I haven't heard a championship winner yet.
here we go. So I have the
20 years.
Nope. No, many titles.
Oh.
2X defending champ, the reigning champ, the Cheah Dynasty. I three-peated, so I changed my name to the
Oh,
Cheah Dynasty.
hell yeah.
That was pretty sick. Almost Jameis, the People's Champ. That was after a championship year as well. Almost Jameis actually won twice.
Wow.
Yeah, those are the names. I stuck with the People's Champ and Swedish Fish Pies for multiple years.
So double 20 years. 20 years in the game. Double-digit championships.
Yeah, I mean, yes. So let me caveat this with saying that, like, early in fantasy, like, I played in, like, public leagues. One time, I'll never forget, in the 2003 season, I believe, I played an NFL.com public league against strangers, and someone with the first pick took Mark Bruno. I had the second pick, I got Priest Holmes with, like, 30 touchdowns. So, yes, definitely double-digit touchdowns. If you look at the last 10 years, I have 6 or 7 titles. I think it's 6. 6 in the last like 6 years, honestly, because one of them was a three-peat.
Dude, Hank, I know you said that you didn't know if we have time for a full mock draft. Is it possible to even do 1 or 2 rounds to kind of just wind through this thing and just get a sense for how the top of the board is going to shake out and who we really value at the top of the board? I mean, maybe if we just like put our names with the people whose teams are associated with the league or something like that.
Yeah, let's do it. So we did set up for this. We have the 12 teams in the Barstool Content League, and then Connor, Roan, and myself are going to be picking for each of those teams. So I'll just go through the list quickly. And Connor just did a random order. He took the teams, did a randomization. This is how it came out.
To clarify, we don't have a scoring system yet, right?
We're going to
No.
decide that tonight.
Yes.
That's going to be part of what's decided
By
tonight.
the time the podcast comes out, we will have the scoring system.
And I'm going to be advocating for the one that you said. So let's go with
Okay, so
that.
simple.
6 points for quarterback touchdown.
Oh, 4 points, you said.
4 points and 6 points for running back.
Yep, so one
One
quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 receivers, no flex,
I
tight
think
end. That would be
I
the
want a
simplest
flex.
surface area.
I feel like we'll probably end up with a flex.
Okay.
So Barstool Breakfast is going to be Connor. Hubs and Carabas will be Roan. Jeff and Ken Jack Hank. Clem, Connor. Roan. Team Portnoy, Hank. Freight Train, Connor. Coley and Tyler, Roan. Big Cat and PFT, Hank. Smitty, Connor. Mush, Ev and Brandon Walker, Roan, and Hank will be myself.
So should we do 2 rounds, maybe just to wind back and forth, and we'll have a couple ideas of not only where we value things, but what we think the psychology of the other idiots that are in our league are going to be. And Steve, maybe you can help critique these picks and say whether you think we're reaching, whether you think we're putting a nice team together for these teams.
Sure. I'll record these picks too, just so we can look at it after 2 rounds and kind of.
All right, so starting it off with Barstool Breakfast. Now Saquon Barkley going to be the number
Can you try
one.
and do a Willie Colon impression, please?
Yeah, that would be way better. Or large, if large.
Huzzah.
I don't think I've ever had a conversation with any of them. I honestly have no idea.
That's kind of fucked up. So what?
I've talked to large ones.
Okay, let's try that then.
I don't really know what he sounds like. I'm just we're gonna go with Alvin Kamara with the first overall pick because he's had great fantasy production throughout his short career. However, losing Mark Ingram, he's going to be the first running back in that offense, especially if you're in a PPR league. Could be a great pickup and have a little bit more production than Saquon. So I'm going to go with Alvin Kamara with the first pick.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's interesting. He hasn't had a full workload in the pros or even in college. He was at Alabama, transferred to Tennessee. He was in kind of a timeshare there. It'll be interesting to see if he can be the guy, but he certainly puts up touchdowns.
That's Connor overvaluing a Tennessee guy.
I
That's
knew,
all
I
that
knew
is.
You would say that. However, he's
You're not
second
picking for
most
yourself.
places you look. I understand.
That was a terrible large impression too. Large isn't from the South.
That wasn't my large impression.
You were supposed to do a large impression,
I don't
so
know
it
what
was
he
a
sounds
terrible
like.
effort then.
I apologize.
One way or the other, it was terrible. Second pick. This is my Hubs impression. It's gotta be Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley's the easiest pick ever. Obviously, he's going to be have the most yards ever. Man, that's how you put an effort into a bad impression. If it's going to be bad, you might as well swing for the fences, Big Tennessee.
I respect your effort.
It's interesting that you guys both pick guys from your alma mater.
But I'm that is very interesting. But I'm thinking
you
with
wanna hate on
Hubs'
me.
mind, as Hubs being a New Yorker, you have to think that he knows how good Saquon's going to be, how good the Giants offense, or how much the Giants offense is going to rely on Saquon.
Yeah, I would just caution Saquon is pretty much the universal number 1 pick. I would just caution this was similar with David Johnson a few years ago, where he puts up a ton of rushing and receiving yards, but everyone thinks is going to be in a terrible offense. So I would just caution that.
All right, my next pick, I got Jeff and Kenjack. This is just pick which one impression this is. We're going to take he got jacked this offseason, Christian McCaffrey.
Is that a Kenjack or
That's Jen Jack.
That's
a
Jen Jack.
Combo impersonation.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great pick,
Thanks.
especially at 3.
Thanks, Steve.
All right, now I have Clem. I can do a Clem impression.
Can you?
Yes. Oh, the Mets. The Mets are terrible. These Mets, they're never going to win anything. I guess give me David Johnson. I'll take David Johnson. Fuck the Mets.
Damn, David Johnson got left on the board. All right, so
By the way, you started this with saying that the no running back strategy was how you got into it, but you're saying that strategy is not a good strategy anymore, correct?
If you're at the top, if you can get a tier 1 guy in the top 5, it's going to be hard to say no to one of these running backs just because they're all primo guys, and if you look at the drop off from tier 1 to tier 2, it's very great. If you're picking in the bottom half of the first round, like I said, when I picked in 2009 and with the seminal 0 RB strategy, I did that with the 12th pick.
Is that
I didn't do
from
that
Florida?
necessarily by choice. What's that?
Nothing. So I have the 5th pick. I'm just not even doing an impression of anybody except for myself. And we've seen all these running backs go. And this is where I feel like it gets kind of murky for running backs because you don't know what's going to happen with Ezekiel Elliott. So I'm going to jump into the receivers, and I'm going DeAndre Hopkins with my number 5 overall pick. I just think you know what you're going to get with him. He's going to get all his targets, and he's the best receiver in the game right now.
I think if you're going to go that route, I think you better be in a PPR league or at least a half-point PPR league. But yeah, you do have Zeke Elliott on the board. There is some uncertainty with his contract, but if you were to go with Zeke Elliott, this is a perfect situation where you get a handcuff in a little bit higher rounds than typically you normally would.
Right, you know you're going to get your production from the Cowboys.
Yep.
All right, I got Team Portnoy next. I will be going as YP. Interesting. Dude, I don't know. Come on, YP, just make a pick. That's Tommy. YP,
That's nice. That's nice.
Dude, I don't know. Let's go with Devontae Adams, Packer Nation, baby.
Packer
He's
Nation.
going to be Aaron Rodgers, wide receiver 1. Aaron Rodgers is going to be coming for that ass. Everyone's kind of saying he's not the guy anymore. He's going to be coming to prove something. He's got to be going to someone. Why not Devontae Adams?
I like that. I think Devontae Adams and DeAndre Hopkins are like the top 2 in this class by far.
Is there a big drop off after that? tier wise?
I wouldn't. No, because you can still get like Odell and Julio and those type of guys that can put up those numbers. I think that there's a much more precipitous drop off after the tier 1 of RBs than and it's also a much shallower pool.
Now, Fran and Kate picking. I think Fran will see.
No. An impression.
I feel like that could get a bit problematic.
Why? What the fuck is that supposed to mean?
I mean, everybody's getting accused of being sexist now.
What are you talking
Who?
about?
What are you just brought this in? That you brought sexism into?
Okay,
What are you talking
okay,
about?
yes, this has been
That
flipped
made
on
me
me.
think you were about to do something super problematic.
No, I just. Do you want me to do a female voice?
Yes. What is this, 1955?
Odell Beckham dated Khloe Kardashian, so I'm gonna take Odell Beckham.
That was problematic, bro.
That
You
was
don't think that they
Fran.
could make a decision based on sports?
I think Odell has a super high ceiling, so it should be interesting with him. First year in Cleveland, Jarvis Landry gets a ton of catches. Let's see how much of his workload he takes away. But I mean, with Baker Mayfield, you're going to expect the sky's the limit.
I also don't think Odell Beckham dated Khloe Kardashian.
It's disputed, but there was a thing
Doubtful.
going on for a little bit.
Get your facts straight.
You can Google it.
For Coley and Tyler, I'll be doing Coley. Pretty obvious. Top running back left on the board. Zeke Elliott. It's got to be. Can't leave him around for too long. Clearly Zeke Elliott.
Great pick. Great value.
Strong pick, strong value. Super mediocre impression. Could have landed that. Could have nailed that way better. Coley's very impressionable. He's an impressionable young man.
I have now Big Cat and PFT. Crazy enough, as much time as I spent with them, I really have no impression developed. Like, there's not a lot of things that they do with their voice, other than the only thing I would say is just I'll do Big Cat. All right, we got the next pick. We're going with Julio Jones. Get ready for a big bounce back year.
Julio. Big Cat classically can't pronounce the soft J. That's one of Big Cat's biggest drawbacks, that he just hits a Julio Jones.
His also voice decibel level. That's the only thing. Like, if everyone in the world said, like, hello, my name is Joe, the decibel level of Big Cats would be about 10 to 15 decibel levels higher, which is good for audio recording. But
correct.
That's the only distinct thing that I can think of when it comes to their voice.
Dude, I don't know how I didn't throw in a big anything for my Coley impression. Big fail on my pocket.
Sure is.
Now I have Smitty up next, so here is my Smitty impersonation. Did you guys know Fantasy Football Factory is actually not Barstool Sports' first fantasy podcast? This is bullshit. We've had fantasy podcasts before. I guess I'll take Joe Mixon.
Joe Mixon's a deep cut right there, but I feel like that is a Smitty-esque pick to maybe find someone off the beaten path. I don't know about the Cincinnati offensive line, but Joe Mixon could put up some numbers.
I think Joe Mixon is a good talent, but at 10, I think that's a little rich for my blood.
Top first round. That's especially the Bengals.
You can't feel confident with Joe Mixon as your RB1 or as your 10th pick.
So number 11.
I don't know.
Mush, Evan, Brandon Walker. This, I guess, is a Marty Mush. Oh, you fucking that sounded like Rappaport. Fuck. I'm going to take that suck bag, Juju Smith-Schuster. This fucking rat, dog, suck, fuck. Juju Smith-Schuster's the pick there, though. I think that Juju Smith-Schuster's going to have a big part of that offense. I think that he could put up some astronomical catch numbers, and I think that Mush, Ev, and Brandon Walker could possibly see that. I could be way off, but
could be a bust.
Yeah, fuck them though, you know.
All right, I got the next pick. I'm shocked that this person has fallen this far, but Le'Veon Bell.
Yeah, love it.
He is. I mean, I think he's gonna have a huge year. I think the Jets are gonna be sneaky good this year.
Agreed.
I hope they're not, but I sneaky feel like Darnold's gonna have a pretty good year. Bell could have a good year.
Yep.
They could be all right.
Fantastic value. I could have gotten him. I would have pegged him around like 7 or 8. So getting him at 12 is a steal. And you got the next pick.
I do have the next pick for Snake Draft Classic.
Classic.
See, this is. I mean, you talked me out of the tight end thing. To see Travis Kelce up there, that's a good hill. Let's go. Let's take another running back though, Dalvin Cook.
Nice. For anyone that does have the 12th pick, that's actually my favorite pick, just because you can get 2 picks in a row uninterrupted, so you can kind of
plan it out.
Yeah. You have a little bit more leeway there.
Would you go running back in this situation?
I probably wouldn't. I probably would have went with a.
You just have to be really happy with the receivers. You'll be able to get at like the 24th spot or whatever when it comes back around.
Yeah, I mean, I probably would have went Michael Thomas.
Yeah, I regret that.
Mike Thomas,
I
maybe
already
like
regret
maybe
it.
like a Mike Evans. James Conner, I'm not as high on, but Nick Chubb or someone in there.
I'm just looking at it. That was a mistake.
Yeah.
I will not be doing that in our draft if I get the 12th pick.
Sure.
This is why you do the mocks.
With the 13th pick,
Is that Connor?
it does sound like Connor / Hank Hill. I'm gonna take Michael Thomas from New Orleans. Fuck, why does that sound so much like Connor? I'm trying to make it sound like Brandon Walker.
Does not sound like Connor.
What? I think it kind of does. You talk, then I talk, Connor.
That is Connor / Hank Hill.
It is, bro.
Okay,
You
well,
were
we're gonna keep moving on here.
Michael Thomas, I thought was, bro. It does sound like it's.
This is fake
The fact that
news.
you keep on going on makes it like more obvious that it sounded like.
That's fake news. Anyway, Nick Chubb is the pick in the second round for Smitty.
Let's dance. You gotta throw in some dancing.
Or like a historical reference, like the Battle of Waterloo. Don't shoot till you see the whites of their eyes. Nick Chubb. So who do we got coming back through?
We got
PFT?
This is PFT.
Let's assess the board right now. Who are you looking at there, Big Cat and PFT?
They need a running back, so I think I'm gonna go with James Conner.
Con-Air, wow.
Does he have any felonies? If he had felonies, that'd be a big PFT. Like
Maybe that would
Con-Air,
call
yeah.
him, when he gets on the plane, I call him James Conner.
Well, he's got the mullet in the back, very similar to
Ooh.
Nick Cage.
Cameron Poe.
Cameron, yes.
Cameron Poe. Excellent. So Coley and Tyler, big mess up last time by messing up this incorrect pick that I was supposed to make.
Sure was, McMahon.
Trying to be correct this time. Have the most correct pick that I can. I'm gonna make a little bit of a reach and go for the girl man, Todd Gurley.
Okay.
See if we can mix in the girl man. Second round pick.
I don't know, Coley.
Fucking
Sounds like Hank Hill too, though.
It sounds like a Jolly Green Giant. I don't know, Coley. Better not do that. Sounds like a talking cloud from like a children's comic.
Now, Fran and Kate, both Philadelphia Eagles fans, so Zach Ertz.
What? What kind of sabotage bullshit pick is that, dude?
They love the Eagles.
And so they're gonna
You think just 'cause
overdraft.
they're Eagles fans, they're not going to have any type of draft
I have
strategy?
never spoken to Fran in my life. I have no idea what their draft
So you think she's an
strategy is.
idiot?
No.
You default to everybody being
This-
dumb because you haven't spoken with them?
This is being twisted in an unfair
I mean, you
manner.
just took Zach Ertz in the second round.
Oh, yeah,
They
Philly
love the
fan-
Eagles.
This is not... They're not in the league because they like the Eagles. They're in the league because they have fantasy experience.
I'm just
and they're
trying to
not
put
gonna make-
myself in these people's minds.
Well, that was terrible.
That's offensive.
That is offensive. These were two very offensive picks that you just made.
Dude, I don't know, man.
This is T. Portnoy.
Kelsey Hill.
YP's on the clock.
That's interesting. I think I'm going to have to go with Tyreek Hill, dude.
That's a good pick.
Thanks, Steven. You want to go fishing, dude?
Tyreek Hill, the number 6 wide receiver out here. Not a bad pickup. Okay, fuck it. This is me. I'm speaking for myself right now. And who did I get in the first round, Steve?
D. Hopkins.
Yep.
Okay, fuck. So what, Steven, what would you recommend I do here? Do you think I should be pairing up another receiver? Should I try and get one of these running backs while they're going? What's the best way to ensure that I'm going to be set going forward?
Yeah, I think this is kind of where the tiering system comes in because you're going to want to know when there's a drop off. So, for example, with receivers, you have Mike Evans, Antonio Brown. Maybe you could lump Adam Thielen in, who was really good for the first 10, 11 weeks last year. So I guess it would depend on your confidence of those guys. If you're looking at 6-point touchdowns, I think this is an interesting area to maybe go Pat Mahomes, but I'd probably wait a little bit. I would probably go. Honestly, I really like Antonio Brown this year, even with his frostbitten feet, even with his helmet. Mike Evans also really good play. This is, I think, when most people would probably go with Travis Kelce. Again, not my flavor, but I can see that happening.
Dude, I could be making a big mistake here, but I want to grab a running back now, and I think that of the running backs on the board, the guy who has the most upside to me is Kerryon Johnson. I think that Kerryon Johnson could provide a a little bit of help to my team, but I also might wind up hating it. This is just me trying to go with my guns. I've been beating the drum for Carry On, so let's bring him on and let's see if he can do something for us.
I really like the player. I don't love the value. Getting Carry On Johnson at 20, I think is gonna be tough.
All right, let's go.
Shut up,
rapid
dude.
fire. Clem, you got 5 seconds. 5, 4.
Give me Patrick
3,
Mahomes. He can
2.
throw the ball unlike any of the Mets.
All right, I think we're gonna go with Antonio Brown. I'm a big AFC West fan, and I think he's got his helmet situation figured out. He's ready for a big year.
I think back in Saugus, we all really respected tight end, so Travis Kelce has got to be the pick.
Wrap it up, Connor. Or should I say Willie / Clem?
Yeah, Willie.
Mike Evans.
Okay. All right, well, I don't know if that was helpful or not. I think probably not.
It was helpful to me in that
I learned that if I get the 12th pick, I'm not going to take 2 running backs. So it was helpful for me.
that's what I'm saying. I wouldn't take Carry On Johnson again, I don't think. I feel like I felt like an idiot after that. And like the shame is really what teaches you more than anything. When you feel really shameful after a pick, that's a terrible feeling.
What's a good number of mock drafts to do before you draft, before you get 2 in your own head?
I don't know if you should necessarily do mock drafts. I think a great website to check out is fantasyfootballcalculator.com and just take a look at the ADP, which is the average draft position. Just kind of see where players are going so you can get a feel of, okay, maybe I'm thinking about Carry On Johnson with the 20th pick. Where is his ADP in my specific scoring system league, and does that kind of match up? Let me just kind of recap the tandem picks just so you guys can get a feel of who is available where.
Dude, I am sick about this Carry On Johnson pick. I feel terrible about it. My stomach hurts right now.
So with the first pick, so you got the 1st and 24th, Alvin Kamara and Mike Evans. Pretty good, I think. I think that's pretty good. Number 2, you got Saquon Barkley and Travis Kelce. That looks good on paper, but when you see the rest of your team spread out and you're looking at, your wide receiver 1 being maybe Adam Thielen if you can get him, I think you're going to have a little bit of a tough time with that, and that's the thing with the tight ends.
So no tight ends second round.
I would never touch tight end in the second round.
Okay.
Christian McCaffrey, pick 3 and 22. You're looking at Christian McCaffrey and Antonio Brown. I think that's actually great value for both players. That's probably my favorite one.
Thanks, Steve-O.
But let's keep going through the list. Number 4, number 21, you got David Johnson and Patrick Mahomes. You really need to get a receiver in the next round. Hopefully that kind of pans out. So hopefully like a Thielen or someone like that drops.
Risky business.
Yeah. Again, you're kind of
QBs and tight ends second round.
Yeah.
You got it. You need balls. Cojones.
If touchdowns are 6 points for quarterbacks, this is looking really good though.
Okay.
Here we go. So with pick
Shut up,
6
dude.
and with pick 6 and 19,
Your
you
own
got
team, no less.
Oh, no, this is number 5.
5. DeAndre Hopkins and Carry On Johnson. Probably my least favorite.
Dude, I know, bro. We
Pair
already
of those
talked about it, man.
yeah.
I have a pit in my stomach right now, bro.
That's okay.
I feel like I might throw up.
That's okay. You can always get it back on the next round. You got looks like the 5th pick going back.
I could have easily got Carry On in the 3rd round.
You could have, yeah. It's all about getting the appropriate value and matching it up. 6th pick, Devontae Adams and Tyreek Hill. Love this combo. So this is kind of going with the 0 RB strategy.
I feel like the top 2 picks open me.
Yeah. If there is PPR especially, these guys are going to be good, can score from anywhere in the field, both have quarterbacks that can be really explosive, so could have 2 guys that can put up, in a really good week, that could potentially be 6 touchdowns from 2 guys, which is huge. Very explosive team right there. 7th and 18th pick, you got Odell Beckham Jr., Zach Ertz. Don't love it again.
Bad.
Again,
Wasn't me, that was Fran and Kate.
The tight end thing. Yeah, I mean, that's tough. That's based off of fake Kardashian rumors and Eagles loyalty.
Yeah, that's fucked up.
That wasn't me.
That was tough. 8th and 17th pick, you got Zeke and Todd Gurley. This has the potential to be an enormous team with potentially 2 of the top backs, but health and contract concerns definitely a little bit of a worry.
There's
Definitely
actually a
get those
kid
handcuffs.
in my league from home who did the same thing, and I was giving him a lot of shit for it. And I was like, dude, what do you like?
If you get the handcuffs for these guys,
fucked.
that is very valuable. So,
But it's a home run swing.
yeah, for sure. But this could easily be a Greyhound bust too. And with stakes so high, you kind of want to be a little bit conservative. 9th and 16, you got Julio Jones and James Conner. Definitely solid value from both of those picks, so that's really good. 10 and 15, you got Joe Mixon and Nick Chubb. Don't love this. You kind of have handcuffed yourself into getting a wide receiver next round, and you don't pick till the 10th pick. So, your wide receiver 1's going to be looking not so great. That's kind of a tough pairing. Juju Smith-Schuster and Michael Thomas. two young emerging receivers, both in explosive offenses. I think that has definitely an explosive pairing. And then 12 and 13, Le'Veon Bell and Dalvin Cook. Don't love the Dalvin Cook pick.
Needed a
Le'Veon Bell,
wide
great
receiver
value.
there.
Yeah, you could
Terrible.
have went with Michael Thomas, and that would have been a home run. But yeah, I mean, 12th pick, if you're in that position, like, great place to be. 11th as well.
Dude, can you just give us advice on how to not shit the bed during a draft? Like when you're about to make the pick and you feel like you're about to like shit all over the place and like that you're like feel the turd going towards the precipice of your asshole. How do you not shit yourself and shit up the pick?
So the key is just matching guys up with the appropriate value. So I think what you want to do a lot during the draft is look at other teams and see what they need. So for example, if you're coming up in 5 picks and then maybe you're coming back around, you want to take a look at have those guys drafted a lot of wide receivers already? If so, maybe not too many wide receivers will go before my next pick. So I think playing the board more so than looking at individual players is more important in year-long fantasy drafts.
All right, well, thanks, Steven. We all kind of got our run, but thank you very much. This has been very informative, very helpful. Hopefully the listeners gain some information, something that can help them with their draft. Remember to tune in. The video of the governor's meeting will be out today. You can see how much Connor did or did not shit the bed. I have confidence in him. I think it's going to be good. We'll see. You can find out what the punishment is. You can find out which teams I'll pick. You can find out what the finalized rosters are and more. So make sure you go watch that. Subscribe to the Barstool Gambling YouTube page. Like, comment. Again, that's the best place. Either on the podcast reviews or on YouTube comments is the best place where we'll be responsive. It's the best place to leave commentary, and it helps us the most with engagement and just overall numbers. So please do that. Tell your friends about this podcast. We appreciate the outreach so far. It's been fun. I think it's going to be a good season. Next week, Wednesday, live draft with the entire league. We'll be doing a draft recap with Clem. Anything else, boys?
Also, follow us on Twitter at FFFPod.
Yes.
Yep, it's going to be beautiful.
Pod.
That's what everyone was saying after I picked fucking Kerryon Johnson.